What's up, guys? James Foster here. I'm going to be doing weekly film breakdowns for the Hot Read podcast channel. Definitely plan to mix up the topics throughout the year and cover as many rookies and young players as possible. But the first week had to start with just a full Cam Ward film breakdown. I think Cam Ward was probably the only true positive takeaway that you could have from the Titans' offensive performance in week one. Peter Skoronski would be the other guy that probably stands out as a really strong performer. Overall, I thought it was a B+ to A- debut from Cam Ward, and he just got no help from the rest of the offense. So I'm not going to break down every play, but we will look at all the key ones. The reason I included this play, despite it just being a check down, is because I think the contrast in playmaking ability and release flexibility between Cam Ward in this kind of situation and Will Levis when he was in those kind of situations could not be more clear. When he escapes the pocket, initially Alex Singleton, the linebacker, is covering Tony Pollard, who's his coverage assignment, but he has the peripheral vision to identify him peeling off and trying to come tackle him, and he's able to just flip it to Tony Pollard, get 29 yards on 3rd and 10. Next play, 2nd and 10 on the Broncos 36. This is the first dot to Gunnar Helm that wasn't completed. I thought Gunnar Helm had a nice game. I expect him to end up as a pretty solid pick. The one thing that he doesn't really bring to the table is speed and the ability to stress defenses vertically. I expect a lot of his targets on seams and corners to be tight window contested grabs like this. You have to have the velocity to fit it into those windows before they close and the precision to get it exactly where it needs to be. This is a pretty routine play, but I figured I may as well include it. His accuracy throwing to the intermediate sideline, I think, is one of his biggest strengths, and that showed in this game. Now, if you watched, read, or listened to any of my pre-draft analysis of Cam Ward, you'll know that my number one criticism or concern of his game is his deep ball accuracy, and that showed itself in week one as well. These are the kind of plays you have to be able to connect on, and I just saw him sail too many 25 plus air yard targets at Miami. Now, I hate to be the guy that's just pointing at open receivers on the all 22 the week after the game and criticizing a quarterback, because it's not really how playing quarterback in the NFL works, but it's 3rd and 3 in the red zone, game's tied 3-3. This is just kind of unfortunate timing, because right as Van Jefferson shakes Riley Moss and creates separation, Cam Ward decides to abandon the route. If he would have stuck with it for another second, he would have seen that, and he's definitely got the release quickness to get the ball there. Instead, he ends up taking a 12-yard sack. Outstanding play here, 1st and 20 in the 3rd quarter. ID's the coverage rotation. He knows that this safety that's bailing is not going to have time to get over to the deep sideline, so he's got a one-on-one with Elikai Manor. This play is a perfect example of everyone on the field doing their job except for Brian Callahan and whoever his rules specialist guy is. You got a really clean pocket. Cam Ward delivers a catchable ball. Manor makes a ridiculous catch, gets the elbow in bounds. Okay, mixed bag on this play. There's some stuff to criticize, some stuff that's impressive. The Titans have Tyler Lockett running a seam. He's going to force Alex Singleton, the linebacker, to carry him vertically. And then you're going to have Calvin Ridley breaking on a dig route behind that against favorable leverage and cushion. This is an open window in the NFL. It's something that Cam Ward showed the ability to hit later in this game. But on this play, he hesitates, misses the window, has to break the pocket. And then I was kind of hoping he would just remove the crossbody throw from his bag entirely. But the result on this play ends up being really good. 2nd and 8, move the sticks, get some breathing room from their own end zone. But just a few plays later, he's able to work to the backside of his progression, hit Calvin Ridley in stride. He can't come down with this one. There's kind of a checklist of throws that you need an NFL quarterback to be able to make. And the backside dig with anticipation into a tight zone window, and this isn't the tightest window, but this kind of throw is pretty high up on the list of things that you really need to be able to execute to be a top 10 to 12 quarterback. And then he took the 2 sacks to put them out of field goal range. I'm fine if you want to blame him for the second one. The first one, I wouldn't really put on him at all. It's 2nd and 8. Broncos are in quarters. The Titans have 2 dig routes breaking towards pretty much the exact same point. If he were to throw either of these, he would be throwing it into the other route's coverage, and then nothing down the sidelines open, so there really aren't any options. My main criticism here is once he sees that the play is cooked and he's got pressure up the middle, just fall on the ground. Like, there's no reason to take 7 extra yards and just add that onto the sack. Second play, they are barely hanging on to field goal range. They're going to run sail to the bottom of the screen, essentially just outbreaking routes at all 3 levels of the field. Not the kind of concept that is really going to pop open against man coverage. It's more of a triangle read thing that's going to work against cover 3 and stuff like that. In general, when the Broncos played man in this game, I thought the separation from Tennessee was below average, which is not surprising, and this play is one example of that. Really, the only viable option for Cam here is to hit Lockett on the whip route underneath, but it's 3rd and 24. He's trying to get a big chunk of that yardage back that he lost. He's waiting for one of these deeper routes to come open. By the time he realizes that they aren't going to, that whip route gets covered up. And then you might have been worried that the Titans were going to start finishing games this year without Will Levis as their quarterback. Calvin Ridley said, "Don't worry, I got you." Had a couple critical drops to seal the game. Now, this first one especially is a really tough catch, especially considering how much heat is on this. If this was the only play in a vacuum, I wouldn't really be that critical of Calvin Ridley, but considering the other drops, it just makes it look even worse. But then the second one, he's got to extend for it some, but you got to come down with this. And then final play, he's targeting Chig down the seam. PFF charted this as in front of the receiver, so inaccurate on Cam Ward's part. It's definitely a little bit in front of him, but I think it is catchable. Kind of throw that could go either way, but he's really trying to lead Chig here because he doesn't want the DB to overlap into that lane. Thanks for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed. You can expect one of these every week, and make sure to subscribe to the channel on YouTube if you aren't already so you guys don't miss out.